Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Garrett Sheehan, and I'm president of the Quinnipiac and Greater New Haven Chambers of Commerce. We're ready to get started this afternoon. I want to welcome you all to our annual Mayor's and First Selectman's State of the Town Address presented by Masonacare, Ciula and D'Onofrio, and North Haven Funeral Home. We are so glad to have all of you with us online. We are excited to hear from both of our chief elected officials. The pandemic has presented many challenges, but this is a great opportunity for us to be able to hear from both towns at the same time. It's now my pleasure to welcome in Gary Carleglio, our Senior Director of Sales and Marketing, who will recognize our sponsors. Gary? Gary.
Apologize, everyone. Thanks, Garrett, and welcome everyone. This event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Your unwavering commitment, dedication, and response to our needs have been terrific. Our event presenters in this combined virtual event are Masonacare, Ciula and D'Onofrio, attorneys at law, North Haven Funeral Home. We are appreciative of their support today and throughout the year. We are also thankful to our additional event sponsors that have graciously stayed on with our programming, even though we have transitioned to this virtual format. A big thanks to major sponsor Burns and McDonnell, event sponsors Allnex, Members First Connecticut Federal Credit Union, Nucor Steel Connecticut, OneSource, TD Bank, Ulbrich Stainless Steels, Wallingford Buick GMC. We'd like to thank our 2021 Quinnipiac Chambers corporate sponsors. These sponsorships enable us to bring you events and programs throughout the year. Please enjoy our new sizzle reel highlighting our sponsors who support the Chamber at the highest levels.
The Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce is grateful for the generous contributions of its strategic investors. Their generosity allows the Chamber to continue to support its partners and programs of work. Introducing our premier partner, Allnex. Now presenting our star supporters, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, Nucor Steel Connecticut, and Ulbrich Stainless Steels. Introducing our corporate sponsors, American Eagle Financial Credit Union, BYK USA, Ferguson and McGuire Insurance Services, Guilford Savings Bank, Image 360 Wallingford, Inframetals, Chemco Supply Corporation of New England, Lipper International, Platinum Janitorial Services, Record Journal, South Broad Paint and Home Center, and VF McNeil Insurance. Now presenting our business partners, AMS Practice Management, Banton Construction Company, Choate Rosemary Hall, Comcast Business, Mezzanotte Law Firm, Newtown Savings Bank, OneSource, United Illuminating, and United Property Restoration Services. The Chamber would like to thank each of our strategic investors for their contributions throughout the year and for helping us achieve our mission.
Thank you, Gary, and a big thanks to Captive Video Production for their support on so many video projects just like this over the last several months. This time, I would like to introduce Frank DiCristina, Site Manager at Allnex and Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce Board Chair, for his opening remarks. Frank?
Thank you, Garrett, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. The Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce, through its affiliation with the Greater New Haven Chamber, has been a leading voice in South Central Connecticut, providing vital information to local businesses during these unprecedented times. The Chamber has produced close to 60 webinars ranging from PPP, COVID-19 response, workforce development, human resources, and legislative forums with direct contact from both state and national legislators. It's great to be here with all of you to hear both our mayor and first selectman, two dedicated public servants who make a difference in our region. This is just one of the many events and programs the Chamber holds for the town of Wallingford and North Haven. Our annual meeting and Women's Achievement Award celebrations honor businesses and individuals who make a difference in our community. Our business showcase highlights both large and small businesses, and our manufacturing career fair helps drive workforce development in the region. Our Quinnipiac Chamber Golf Classic offers a relaxing day of fun and an opportunity to raise money for our charitable trust. The trust fund allows the Chamber to bestow scholarships to deserving students in both towns, sponsor the Music Under the Stars series in North Haven, and help fund Wallingford's Center for Innovation and Design. We also facilitate business counseling, training reimbursement, and legislative advocacy. We understand the challenges this health crisis presents, and we are continually looking for new ways to grow and improve our profile in the community. Throughout all this, with Garrett's leadership and Gary and Maribel's tireless efforts, the Chamber has been there for all of us and has been able to sustain solid financial health. And this is a real credit to this outstanding team. Thank you. I also want to thank Mayor Bill Dickinson and First Selectman Mike Frieda for their exemplary leadership during these unprecedented times. I would not want to have to put my faith in anyone else other than these two gentlemen to help us return to normal. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Frank. We truly appreciate your support and dedication to the Chamber. But before we hear from our sponsor, Masonicare, please enjoy this video highlighting their services and properties.
In a world where so much has changed, where the moments we once took for granted are reminders of an easier time, there is a place where celebrating the everyday simple joys is a way of life, where every day we are reminded of what is really important, what really matters. A warm smile, a reassuring touch, a favorite meal, a familiar voice, a faithful companion, a meaningful embrace, a favorite pastime, a thoughtful gesture. These are the moments that matter. Masonicare, it's all right here.
Please welcome JP Benoit, past board chair and president and CEO of Masonicare, presenting sponsor of the Wallingford State of the Town Address, to say a few words. JP?
Garrett, thank you for allowing Masonicare to sponsor the annual Mayor's and First Selectman State of the Town Address. Both Bill and Mike are true leaders and have been able to navigate through these very difficult times. It's a pleasure to support the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce and New Haven Chamber of Commerce, as we have done so for so many years. Over the past year, Masonicare, like most organizations, have endured many challenges with COVID. Our organization, which provides home care, hospice, homemaker and companionship services, skilled nursing, rehab services, independent living, and assisted living throughout the state, have battled the pandemic with dedication and compassion. Our 1,700 employees, serving over 4,400 individuals each and every day, have been the true heroes in this fight, and I thank them for delivering on our promise. As we continue to move forward for some sort of normalcy, and whatever normalcy is, and please get vaccinated, our town leaders will be instrumental in assisting businesses in these towns to climb back to prosperity. Since I brought up vaccines, I'd like to personally thank the Wallingford Health Department Director, Stephen Civitelli, for being a resource and working to get the vaccines to everyone that needs them. We have enjoyed a great working relationship with both the town of Wallingford and North Haven, and look forward to growing our businesses throughout the region. At this time, it's always a joy to introduce Mayor Bill Dickinson, currently in his 19th term as mayor of Wallingford. Mayor Dickinson is the second longest tenured mayor in the state of Connecticut. We have Mayor Dickinson. Do we have Mayor Dickinson on the line?
I believe so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, JP. It's a wonderful community that Masonic Care has helped to create, and we appreciate all that you do. It's a joy to say hello to everyone today. Good afternoon. I want to start by relating a man wrote, I'd recently written an academic book, which my 6-year-old son asked to see. I handed him a copy, and he carefully examined the pages. And when he was done, he closed the book, looking perplexed, and asked, "Dad, do you understand any of this?" We have been presented with that kind of question over the past year with all of the pandemic. And I want to underscore partnerships. The story that has unfolded really is all about partnerships. And I'll begin by talking about the health department. The Wallingford Health Department, led by Steve Civitelli and his staff, at this point, they have hosted 17 vaccination clinics. They have inoculated 1,700 people, including police, fire, school nurses, all of the first and second vaccines for the first responders. They only receive around 200 vaccines per week. So it will take a while to be able to implement vaccination as we go forward, short of many more vaccines being made available. They implemented the Connecticut Reopen guidance from the state, the guidelines. They have been tasked with enforcing and interpreting the governor's executive orders. They do the contact tracing. Much time and effort was spent in assisting the public schools to allow them to continue to provide education, meeting basic protocols. They have worked to permit the town departments to stay open. Government offices are needed. We have a monopoly on so many services. Someone has to be answering a phone, and we need to provide that service. We have been open throughout this whole time period with that need in mind. The vaccine refrigeration efforts included Gaylord Hospital assisting our health department, as well as the Wallingford Police Department, because the refrigeration units had to be monitored at all times. So the personnel for the clinics have been contributed from the staff of Masonic Care, Choate Rosemary Hall, the Board of Education nurses, Allnex, and that includes also the 2 nurses who are employees of the health department, as well as our paramedics. Partnership, all of them participating in providing the needed vaccine. Our public schools, certainly challenged by the COVID-19, and working with the health director, a plan was implemented to deal with the governor's order to shut schools down. Chromebooks were distributed for remote instruction. The schools maintain communication with their staff as well as families. The superintendent of school has been a dynamo of energy and far-sighted judgments to allow education to continue. They negotiated a justified transportation bus contract when that became an issue. Their emphasis is on student engagement, learning, and success. We appreciate all they've done and certainly congratulate them on their partnership efforts. The building department, and people may think, well, everything's shut down, nothing must be happening. Well, the building department in 2020 issued 2,631 building permits, 136 more than in 2019. That's one of the facets of this, that not all information points in one direction. Certainly a lot of home improvements and other expansions are being pursued. You know, the simplest things require partnerships. In line for the toll booth on the Tappan Zee Bridge in New York, a driver was behind a car whose driver was in earnest conversation with the toll taker. The woman reached out her car window and handed over her wallet. The toll taker removed 2 bills and returned the wallet. Next, she handed him her change purse, from which he extracted coins. Then he returned the purse. The driver was alone in the car. She had the use of her hands and drove off. I was perplexed, the second driver said. So, reached the toll taker and said, I saw it, but I don't believe it. The toll taker replied, she just had her nails done. Everyone requires help and participation from someone at some time. Partnerships, health department with businesses, safety in the workplace, explaining and allowing the governor's orders to be enforced, but allowing businesses to continue. The outdoor resident and retail executive orders. Our health department, the Economic Development Commission with Tim Ryan, planning and zoning, the building department, the fire marshal, the police department, police and fire chiefs, public works department, all participated in immediately responding and enabling outside dining and retail to occur. The building and fire marshal were immediately involved in providing heating units when they needed to be, not providing the units, but explaining what needed to be done in putting heating units in these outdoor tents. In terms of businesses in town, Lyons Upholstery, owned by Jim Mercury, 864 North Colony Road, began producing face masks. Over 7,000 masks were distributed, including many to manufacturing companies to protect their workforce. Sorrento Fine Woodwork, Mark Burleson, owner, was told by his wife, a nurse at Yale New Haven Hospital, about the PPE shortage. Rather than lay off staff, cabinet making was put on hold. Machines are being used to create polycarbonate face shields and sneeze guards. Over 4,000 face shields have been made and distributed. Well done. All next Wallingford. Frank DiCristina and staff recognized that sanitizing was going to be a key to fighting the virus. The company had almost all of the ingredients for the CDC sanitizer formula. They procured what they lacked and produced 250 gallons for internal use. Then they decided, let's help the community. Thankfully, Frank has that kind of approach. They distributed 500 gallons to the Wallingford Fire and Police Departments, the town of North Haven, Wallingford Public Schools, daycare centers, homeless shelters, churches, Masters Manna, YMCA, and many other nonprofit community service organizations. Olbrich Stainless Steel and Specialty Metals. Jay Shea, the Chief Financial Officer, reports that the Wallingford plant provides the metal for COVID vaccine needles, as well as metal for COVID respirators. Everything requires a lot of people doing the right thing, being a partner. So in the midst of this, the Wallingford Public Works Department, while paving 6.5 miles of local roads, removing debris and opening roads after Tropical Storm Isaias in August, continued with their work regarding road improvements in the Tyler Mill area, improvement of athletic fields, and installed and constructed service counter barriers. They joined with the health in town department offices as well as other facilities, municipal buildings throughout the town. Assisted and joined with the health department in placing hand sanitizers and floor markings for 6-foot distancing in town hall and other government buildings. to keep the public and town employees safe. Significant work was done by Public Works with regard to these internal construction improvements to respond to the pandemic. As a result, we were allowed to stay open. We've been open from last March through to today in order to have people answering phones and responding to the needs of the community. Public safety. The fire department, 6,306 emergency calls. 82% are EMS, emergency medical services calls. 5,208 out of the 6,306. We have 2 ambulances staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the emergency management director, the fire chief, worked with the health department in the early weeks of the pandemic to procure the PPE in order for, again, everyone to be safe and be able to provide service. The police department, over 30,000 calls for service. A new community input unit was created to have a more immediate response to encourage a successful problem resolution wherever that was needed. The police department reminds us the thefts of motor vehicles and property from within motor vehicles continues to be a major problem. Please lock cars and remove valuables from the cars. The utilities. Our utility department's extremely important. If they're not functioning, the rest of the community doesn't function. Our water department developed and distributed a hand sanitizer to town departments at the start of the pandemic, along with replacing water mains such as 4,626 feet to keep water flowing. Our reservoirs are at 87.8% above the historical, which is above the historical average of 84%. We've supplied 3.48 million gallons per day, which is 2.12% lower than last year. Sewer department, replacing mains. They've treated 5.15 million gallons per day. Without their work on these things, again, we couldn't function as a community. The electric division, providing reliable, affordable energy. Tree trimming, replacing high-pressure sodium lights with LEDs. 67% of streetlights have been converted. For residential customers, the Wallingford Electric Division's cost for a 750 kilowatt per month usage, $99.07. For our competitors, Eversource, their price is $164.19. And for Avangrid, which was United Illuminating, $192.43. So we thank our electric division for continuing in their mission and allowing all of us to function well. I want you to consider this. You know, it takes good decision-making and willingness to help. That's what partnership's about. So consider this. You are driving along a wild, stormy night. You pass by an unsheltered bus stop where you see 3 people waiting. 1, an elderly woman who is very ill. 2, an old friend who once saved your life. And 3, the person you recognize as the perfect soulmate you've been dreaming about forever. Who would you choose, knowing there could be only 1 passenger in your car? This was a question on an employment application. Should you take the elderly woman or take the old friend because he once saved your life? You may never find this perfect person to be your soulmate. 200 applicants had to answer this. The one who was hired responded, I would give the car keys to my friend and let the friend take the elderly woman to the hospital. Then I would stay behind and wait for the bus with the person of my dreams. You can see why that person was hired for employment. Partnerships. So economic development, chaired by Joe Mira, with staff Tim Ryan and Lynn Wolf. We thank them for all they do. Incredible work, part of this whole effort to keep our community moving. They've redoubled their efforts to retain and encourage existing businesses and attract new ones. They haven't stopped. Outdoor dining, as I stated earlier, was seized upon as a great way to encourage our local businesses. They have been involved in setting up a pipeline for employment at the Wallingford Center and a number of other projects, such as the parking lot at North Cherry Street and Hall Avenue, efforts to reduce the train noise, and a zoning text amendment that allows a wellness center to locate in the old Bank of America building. They have a new marketing venture. They've hired Quinnipiac University students as partners to design a new digital marketing platform, which includes LinkedIn, Instagram, new EDC landing page, email marketing, and college outreach to connect employers with someone from the new workforce. So much is still being done with all of the issues surrounding and uncertainty surrounding the COVID. Let me relate this. A 3-year-old great-grandson and his grandmother spent the day reading, watering flowers, and baking cookies. As he sat on a stool in front of the oven, waiting for the cookies, he turned to her with a sense of excitement and announced, "This is the greatest day of my life." That's what it is for all of us. Care about each other. We're going to get through this. The vaccine is there. We're getting through this. The future is bright. So let's continue all of our efforts, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. We appreciate it. Great job by the town of Wallingford and all of the things you cited, and we do share that optimism with you as well. Now I'd like to show you another video, this one of a Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce member and Captivid Video Productions who put this together.
When your customers travel downtown, does your business seem to blend in with the next? How do you get your business to stand out? Video content, whether it's for the web, television advertising, or putting it on the big screen. Captivid Video Production gets your business noticed. From concept to completion, Captivid creates affordable video content that lets your business stand out from the crowd. Find out how. Log on to Captivid.com. Captivid captures your imagination for all to see.
it is all about video now, and so we thank Captain.
When your
We've done
customers
a lot
travel
with them,
downtown,
and we appreciate all of their support here for the chambers. Now, let me please welcome in past Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce board member Lou D'Agostine, partner with Ciula and D'Onofrio, our co-presenting sponsor of the First Selectman's Address, to say a few words. Lou?
Thank you, Garrett. And thank you to the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce for allowing us to sponsor this wonderful event. My firm, Ciula and D'Onofrio, is located on Washington Avenue in North Haven. We practice primarily business litigation, construction law, and municipal law. I can say that North Haven and Wallingford are truly two of the best places in Connecticut to do business. My firm's direct experience has been with First Selectman Mike Frieda in the town of North Haven. Over the last 11 plus years, Mike continues to take North Haven to new heights. Even with the challenges associated with the pandemic, Mike has done a great job. I apologize. I think I was on mute.
Keep going, Lou.
Okay. Let me just back up a little bit. My firm's direct experience has been with First Selectman Mike Frieda in the town of North Haven. Over the last 11 years, Mike continues to take North Haven to new heights. Even with the challenges associated with the pandemic, Mike has done a great job in attracting, welcoming, and keeping businesses in North Haven. Ciula and D'Onofrio has been in North Haven for 25 years, and every year gets better thanks to Mike and his great team. We look forward to Ferraro's and other businesses new to North Haven opening this year. We, of course, are available to assist all businesses with their legal service needs. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Lou. We appreciate your support. And also, I'd like to acknowledge Brian Havens, owner and director of North Haven Funeral Home, and our co-presenting sponsor of the First Selectman's Address for the 20th consecutive year. So a big thank you to North Haven Funeral Home. Before we hear from First Selectman Mike Frieda, we would like to highlight an economic development success in the town of North Haven. There have been many. Please enjoy this short video on Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce member 12% Beer Project.
Hello, I'm Gary Carleglio, Senior Director of Sales and Marketing with the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. I'm here with Chamber member Alex and Bridget Blank from 12% Beer Project, and we're here to discuss really an economic development success story right here in North Haven.
When we decided to open our brewery, we were looking in the New Haven area, and we were looking at the towns all around, and someone had pointed us to Mike Frieda in North Haven. We're really happy we ended up here. The town was great to work with, and we got through approvals, opened our brewery in 7 months. It was great. So we broke ground in March 2019. We were brewing beer by October 2019. When we started, there were 3 or 4 of us, and we now have 30 employees. So it's been great growth since we got here.
Since we've been open, we felt like we've been embraced by the town. We've had a lot of local people come in and visit our tasting room, which has remained open for the past year, outdoors, 7 days a week. And we also have home delivery, where you can get beer delivered directly to your doorstep just by ordering from our Instagram account.
Alex and Bridget Blank are great partners of the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce. Come out, enjoy their brewery. 12% Beer Project, 341 State Street, North Haven, Connecticut. Cheers, everybody.
And great job, Gary. And thanks for the great work also by Walter Mann and Vic Hogue of North Haven Community TV. They collaborated with the Chamber for us to be able to produce such a great video for you this afternoon. Without further ado, I'm pleased to be able to welcome in Mike Frieda, currently in his 6th term as First Selectman of North Haven. Mike, thank you so much for joining us once again this year.
Well, thank you very much, Garrett. And I can't believe now this is my 12th consecutive address, and it seems hard to believe that all this time has gone by. I am honored to be here with all of the members here. I thank all of the sponsors, and I thank all of the companies part of the Chamber for the remarkable contributions that you've made to our communities during very difficult times. You know, in seeing that great video with Alex and Bridget, I'm very proud of them, 2 young entrepreneurs who have made significant investments, and they're doing very well in adverse times. That's what we want. We want to see more young entrepreneurs create businesses, create concepts, work with us as municipal leaders to try to create opportunities. And I'm very thrilled to see that video. It was so well done. Mayor Dickinson and I are very close. We work very closely together on a regional level, a local level, and a state level. And Bill summed up a lot of the problems that we have been faced with, and the challenges that we've been faced with as municipal leaders. I really look up to Mayor Dickinson. He helped me very much in my first couple of years, and I learned a lot from him. So I'm grateful for what he's done for us here in North Haven in terms of mentoring me in the beginning, and for the remarkable job he's done in Wallingford. So for North Haven these past 14 months has been a very dramatic story that has unfolded in 3 separate acts. And this drama has many parallel dramas within it. Part 1 of this story is a story of a town that has still remained rock solid financially, maintaining its AAA rated status in working with the rating agencies. And those are very grueling calls these days, those conference calls and those teleconferences. And we as chief elected officials really have to be on our game to present our communities in a very positive fashion. We retained that status of AAA, but at the same time, the town was battered with the adverse effects of this pandemic, with multiple storms, a tornado which devastated about 45% of our community. We were faced with one-time dramatic expenses to help our residents, specifically in the form of removing over a 9-week period massive amounts of tornado debris as our town was ripped apart by that tornado. And through it all, in part 1 of this story, we remained rock solid. We had to shift gears as leaders. We were faced with a crisis management situation. And whether it be fortunately or unfortunately, I have had a lot of experience with that in my corporate career as CEO, dealing in crisis management situations. So that part of the crisis has been helping hundreds and hundreds of people who have had no hope, who are anxious, who are socially distanced, who are asking for our help to sign them up for vaccines. And my staff has literally helped those hundreds and hundreds of people getting on a vaccine list, being vaccinated, as we try to all move collectively together through this pandemic. Part 1 also included something for me that I didn't get it done. And I look at myself in the mirror every day. 37 economic development projects I had in place, in the queue in January of 2020, either fell apart or they've been put on pause as a result of what we've all been going through. So I wasn't happy that we lost those 37 different economic development projects last year. And I take full responsibility for that and make no excuses. Part 2 is a story that reflects what I just said in the form of grand list growth. Last year, we had a record grand list growth here in North Haven that was among the largest, if not the largest, in the state of Connecticut, a 9.3% grand list growth for all the new businesses we brought in back then. And one of the anchors, of course, was Amazon. But in this part 2, we just have announced a 0.4% grand list growth, which was incredibly disappointing to me, but it's a reflection of those 37 projects that really did not materialize. Now, that 0.4% grand list growth will yield an incremental $343,000 in new tax revenue for the town of North Haven. At the same time that we're preparing to not only balance this year's fiscal year budget, but also work towards establishing next fiscal year's budget. This past year, we dropped the mill rate by 0.46, and I was very happy to do that. This year, I'm looking to hold the line with no tax increases as we prepare for this budget. So part one and part two of the North Haven story has been parts that have included working in a crisis management mode, losing economic development projects, but helping people try to get back to some normalcy and dealing with people who really have been hurt very hard by this pandemic. But I'd like to share with you the exciting part three, because at the end of part two, when I look at myself in the mirror every morning, I was trying to figure a way out to extricate myself from the shackles of inactivity as it related to economic development. And through the sheer force of will, I'm happy to report that part three of this story is going to be very exciting. I'd like to share with you some of those details. Visualize a bright ray of sunshine coming through the dark and turbulent clouds of this pandemic. And as part of that bright ray of sunshine, I'd like to share with you some of the businesses that we're in the process of bringing in, that we've just brought in, that will materialize over the next several months. And then I'm going to share with you some work in progress projects that I'm personally working on. So Hartford Hospital is a good example. At the site of the old Sports Authority down at Universal Drive, which was a national bankruptcy, that was vacant for over 2.5 years. In working with Dr. Patrick Tomac in Hartford Hospital, we were able to bring in Hartford Hospital to take almost all of that 50,000 square feet that was available. And over the course of the coming weeks and months, we will see more medical services offered to the community as a result of Hartford Hospital being there. There was a reference by Lou from Ciula D'Onofrio about Ferrero's. When Payless went out of business, Peter Ferraro and I had been talking for years about putting a second store into North Haven, and we finally were able to put that together. And that is being fitted out right now. And we hope Ferraro's Market will be open in early March, a new exciting retailer in the Monowee section of our town. Over on Universal Drive, two of the projects that were stalled last year were the Panera Bread expansion to a standalone restaurant at the site of the old Cinemark building, and also the Hampton Inn Hotel. So I've been working very closely with the owner of the Hampton Inn, and I'm happy to announce that construction will begin very soon on putting the Hampton Inn Hotel in front of the Cinemark next to the Chick-fil-A. We still have a problem with the Panera Bread model, but I'm confident that somewhere along the line, we're going to be able to bring that forward here into North Haven. One of the things that we've tried to do here in part three is work with some of our existing businesses to expand. And one of our largest grand list members is Praxair on Sac Point Road. They have a division called Lindy's, it's one of their gas and gasification divisions. So we're very happy that we announced that on Washington Avenue, the Lindy division of Praxair has moved in now to an empty building, 17,000 square feet on Washington Avenue. And now we've expanded with one of our largest grand list members, and that division came in from another part of the state of Connecticut. I would have preferred it maybe come in from another state, but nonetheless, we've expanded, and the Lindy's gas division will be here in North Haven. I'm very excited to announce that Amazon now has 5,500 employees here in North Haven. Amazon and I are working on an exciting $13 million expansion at that facility on Washington Avenue. It's sort of an internal expansion that will create a new business model for Amazon here in North Haven. And is an exciting example of how existing businesses can still grow during adverse times. Some of the other projects that we'll be bringing forward at the site of the old Boston Market, O'Reilly's Auto Parts will be going there. Construction will start very soon on that. During the pandemic, one of the casualties was the Angelos on the corner of Blakesley and Washington Avenue. They went out, were able to work with Guilford Savings Bank, and I'm happy to announce that there'll be an opening, as the chamber knows, on February 22nd. In North Haven, one of the cornerstones of our town for years, and a site at which we've done several of our town addresses, was Fantasia. The owners wanted to sell out. They contacted me. We put a connection together with them, with the CEO of Connex, who I'm very friendly with, Frank Mancini. Fantasia sold to Connex, and what we're going to see there, ladies and gentlemen, is Connex will expand south, and in the back, there'll be 88 apartments going there that'll be done by Alex Bigliotti and his company. That site had been previously zoned a couple years ago for apartments, but we're going to be expanding with Connex and still putting the apartments there. Across the street, at the site of the old Ralph Durante property, of which there was a building there, 18,000 square feet vacant for decades, that'll be a complete demolition, that site. The front building's already been knocked down. The back building, this is on or about 405, 410 Washington Avenue. The back building is scheduled for demolition, and we will see a mixed use concept there. 225 apartments, with the front apartment building having retail on the first floor. A transformation of sorts of a site that was once industrial, dilapidated, being brought to new life with that mixed use project. Jersey Mike's, they'll be coming to Universal Drive in the Barnes and Noble Shopping Center. I had a lot of requests for that down through the years, and last year, just before the pandemic, I actually drove a franchisee around the town looking at spots, and I'm happy to report that that'll be going in there at the site of the Barnes and Noble Plaza. When we look at opportunities potentially to come, I want to share with you some work in process projects, and a demonstration of how business friendly we are, I hope can be captured in what I'm about to tell you. Dodge Avenue in North Haven. At the end of Dodge Avenue, Chris Ulbrich and I have been working for years, go back to his father, Fred, God rest his soul, trying to figure out a solution for those 72 acres back there. I made a commitment to invest $1 million to put sewers on Dodge Avenue, to work collaboratively with Chris Ulbrich to try to bring in Old Dominion Trucking there. And that's a project that we're still working to bring forward, and I hope we can do that. That's a work in progress right now. Over at the North Haven Fairgrounds, a project that I'm personally involved with is trying to create a highway rest stop there at the site of the old Howard Johnson's and the old Donato's, which was the same. Donato's took over from Howard Johnson's. We're working very closely with the fairgrounds because it involves a lease in the parking lot, because the fairgrounds owns the parking lot. And I'm hoping we can bring this highway rest stop concept at the base of that exit there on that site. We are working very closely with the Parisi family at the site of what was not once Parisi Motors on Washington Avenue, which is just up the street on the west side of Washington Avenue from the fairgrounds site that I mentioned. And we have a couple of interested businesses that would like to go there. And I'm hoping very much that we can bring that forward. One of the big projects that I've been working on in part 3 of this 3-part story, excuse me, has been the site of the old Deloro Plaza. Lou Proto and I, who has the listing for the site, the buildings there have been demolished. This is just south of the Guilford Savings Bank, which is going on the site of the old store I mentioned, D'Angelo's. So we have a Five Guys that has committed to go there as the first of what will be a 3-pad site. Believe it or not, in the last 5 years, I've gotten so many requests for a Five Guys, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to see that on the east side of Washington Avenue there. And we're very, very excited about that. All of these businesses will help us in the grand list growth next year. And this is just a sampling of what we have going on here. I could talk to you for another hour about other projects that I'm involved with that we're trying to bring forward to North Haven. But I want you to know this, that despite the trials and tribulations that we've all gone through, despite many of us as chief elected officials who have been pinned down in a reactionary mode, this office gets 200 calls a day. I get over 100 emails a day, in addition to 50 to 100 people reaching out for me on social media. If you have the ability to multitask and stay positively focused, we can create positive outcomes. A lot of this, in my mind, is attitude and perspective. Yes, we've been battered as municipalities, but I try to take a page out of my baseball career. For every 10 at-bats, we may make 7 outs as chief elected officials. But if we can hit 300 or a little bit higher, we can still deliver positive outcomes for the team that we represent. And all of us here are a wonderful example of a collaborative team. So if we're here in North Haven, we will never give up. This administration will face every challenge with a great deal of courage, confidence, and conviction, and will never give up. We have this implacable will to succeed. It's elusive sometimes to achieve the degree of success that we would like, but we can never give up. The future, ladies and gentlemen, in North Haven is very bright. These are some examples of new businesses coming in, and I'm happy to report that I'm in chapter 3 of this 3-part story, back in an offensive, relentless mode to create more economic development here in town and to help support the region and the state of Connecticut. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. And we once again want to thank all of our sponsors for this event today. As a Chamber of Commerce, we can't choose where we're located, but I can't think of 2 communities that for the Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce to help represent Wallingford and North Haven could not be better. 2 communities that are focused on economic development, and as you heard today, have an optimistic outlook for the future. One last note I'll give you today, and speaking about optimism, there are jobs available out there, and so our next Quinnipiac Chamber of Commerce event is going to be our career fair, and that is going to be held in May. That's a plan right now. Everything obviously is subject to change, but we really cannot wait to get back to in-person events. We'll follow the health guidelines, keep it safe for everyone to be able to connect again. So stay tuned for more details on that. We hope to have some business after hours in the very near future, again, in person, staying with all the health guidelines. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I want to especially thank Gary and Maribel, who've done just an incredible job keeping the chamber going through this difficult time. Behind the scenes, Tamika and Shantae helped keep the slides going. And again, thank you to Mayor Dickinson and Mike Frieda, First Selectman of North Haven, for their leadership through these very difficult times. We hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and thanks again.